Hello and welcome to Cafero.tv. My name is Angela Mirembe, your host, and today on Unpacked we have an exceptional guest by the name of Dr. Tony Devine, who is the Vice President of the Global Peace Foundation, and he's in charge of the Education Division. Basically, what he does is to oversee the development of character, creativity, leadership, and entrepreneurship. That is not only in Africa, but South America, Asia, USA, and we're so pleased to have you here, Dr. Tony.
Great to be here.
Yeah.
Very impressed with the Innovation Center here.
Thank you. So the term Global Peace Foundation, it sounds extremely huge. Anything where you have the words global and peace, it's huge.
Yes.
So would you mind telling us a bit more about what the Global Peace Foundation is all about?
Yes, of course. So Global Peace Foundation, we're essentially a peace building NGO. As you said, we're international. We take a universal principles and shared values approach to bring like innovative solutions to some of the most pressing problems that are affecting our world today, right? So for example, in Korea, in Asia, you mentioned Asia,
Yes,
right?
I did.
We're doing a huge project called Action for Korea United that's bringing together 900 NGOs, representatives from both political parties, interfaith leaders, to sensitize South Koreans on the benefits of unification and taking the unification issue beyond the Cold War framework and rooting it in a 5,000-year history in Korea that it's an emanating philosophy that focuses on living for all mankind. So that's one example, right? We're doing a lot of work on countering violent extremism. So we're working with Homeland Security in the United States and the state of New Jersey, bringing police departments and community leaders together to identify nefarious characters in the community and doing that collaboration. So that's a 2-year grant we're working on right now with Homeland Security. And then here in Africa, we're working in 4 countries. So here in Uganda, of course, also in Kenya, Tanzania, and in Nigeria, right? So what's relevant here is that one of our biggest projects in Uganda and also in Tanzania is transforming education.
Yes.
And we can talk more about
Yes,
that.
I wanted to touch. I wanted to touch on education because we do have you as in charge of the education division. Let's start with demystifying something for me.
Sure.
The education system. Every now and again, we hear people saying the education system was built for a time that is not relevant today.
Yes.
Would you be able to shed some light? What is the history of how the curriculum was created?
Yes.
Because from my take, it comes about like the education system was built maybe around the Industrial Revolution time to prepare people to go and work in factories, especially after the wars.
Yes.
Is that really the history of education and how the syllabus came into being?
Yes, so that's essentially correct. The current education system globally was designed in the industrial age, right? Where workers stayed in the same jobs their entire life, right? You're talking about the production line, essentially. We often say, that the system of education is stuck in the 19th century.
Exactly.
The educators are stuck in the 20th century, but the students are living in the 21st century. So there's, you have this like huge disconnect from the actual real world out here today that's moving at lightning fast pace, right?
Absolutely.
Especially with technology and so on. So this disconnect has to get fixed, right, and get connected and bridged so that education is actually relevant, right? And that, while students are under the care and purview of teachers and educators, that that they can actually help make the students future ready.
Absolutely.
Right, for the workforce that is now live around the world.
Okay. One of the things that I was watching on a talk you gave, and basically what you stated was the things that are being taught in education today, why it's becoming so irrelevant is, for example, things like automation and digitization and things like that. How would you want, if it were up to you, what would the current education system look like?
Okay, so the current education system would be a tremendous creative space. Schools should be creative spaces where creativity and curiosity is completely unlocked, right? You know, there's a man called Ken Robinson who does a lot of work on creativity, for example, he's based in England. And, you know, he's well known for saying that if you want to quish creativity in a young person, just send them to school. Right?
That's true.
You know,
that's very true.
So, you know, the system really has to get transformed, right?
Yes.
You know, big issue is that, you know, educators, the teachers and leadership team, they don't have exposure to the world of the modern world of work.
Yes.
They go directly from high school to teacher training colleges into the system. So I think it's going to take collaborative partnerships like what we're doing with Global Peace Foundation, the Innovation Center here, and many other, working with technology companies. So you're getting new inputs.
Yes.
And, you know, you know, teachers need to be exposed and retraining has to occur. And of course the Ministry of Education they're a critical partner in this. They're the only ones who can scale the change. All we can do is create models, right?
But implementation comes down to that.
Exactly.
When you talk about like cognitive skills versus non-cognitive skills, I was looking at something and they say currently, if we look at the labor market, you have labor or what we call the blue-collar jobs ranging from 50 to 60%. Then we have like the information, or should we call it the info processing, which comes down 30 to 40. And right now in the education system, creativity, as you've mentioned, is just about 10%.
Right.
It's about 10%. When that flips, which it's actually, I can't say when it flips, it's flipping.
Yes.
Even as parents, because we're looking at the ministries and we're looking at teachers, but as the parents, what can they do? How do we alert the parents? Because currently in the society I live in, if someone grows up and goes and tells their parent, I want to drop human resource management, I want to become an artist, they'll be frowned upon, if not heavily you know, judged.
Yes.
But what advice do you have? Because I'm seeing that creativity, anything we watch now, like creativity, when you look in the area of automation and everything that's there, creativity is the only asset that we have now.
Yes.
How would you advise parents, particularly in Africa, by the way? Because overseas, you know, anyone can do anything. But here, it's still our parents and the system they grew up on, get a job and you can work there for the next 100 years and not be moved.
Yes.
But what advice would you give to parents?
You know, sometimes the answers are right under our nose, right? So let's talk about the parents, right? They're working in the modern workforce. They're not working in the 20th century or 19th. They're in the 21st century workforce.
Right.
So the parents are more exposed to what work looks like than the teachers are and the educators are, right? You know, that we're in an environment that's innovative, that's creative, that's actually moving forward. So all they have to do is look around them in their own jobs, and that, you know, that they can actually be giving inputs to the ministry, to the education. Hey,
things
you
are
know,
not working
our
out.
kids are in a system that is not that relevant, but we're in the real job market, and we see where things are at and where things are going, right? So, you know, let's work together. Parents are a very vital piece of the equation here as a partner, right, with educators to give real world inputs, right, and to you know, create the students who can be smart and future ready. Actually, I wanted to mention something else here too.
Please.
So we're talking about innovation and creativity, but actually more is, you know, technology and innovation.
Right.
This is value neutral. Technology is value neutral. So especially here, we're talking about Africa, we're talking about Uganda, right, where corruption is such a major disruptor to progress, right? So it is more essential than ever that the young people that we're getting exposed to creativity also are anchored in character and integrity, honesty.
Absolutely.
Because these are the things that actually actually destroy careers and destroy businesses, right?
Yes.
So any business or enterprise is viable as long as you can trust the people in it, right?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, because I think our generation, for generations, the main focus has been on get your A grade,
Yes.
make sure your report comes back with A plus and A minus. But like you've said, another area that you concentrate on is like character building.
Correct.
Where you talk about things like empathy, resilience, and problem-solving mindset.
Yes.
So you're right to say you can have all your A's, but if your workplace or the company you run is full of people who have A plus but don't have integrity, I think that also is not a great equation. And I think, does that mean that a human resource today or in the future is going to be concentrating more even on these non-cognitive skills, a lot more than they're looking at your grade?
Oh, it's already happening. For example, when any young person who goes for an interview, whether even in manufacturing, it doesn't matter what industry it is, what every employer is looking for most fundamentally is they want a good, competent employee. And I want to emphasize good, right?
Yes.
Because one toxic employee, right, can actually wreak havoc in a small company or business. Actually there's data on this in the U.S. It's called engagement, right? So only like in the U.S., 30% of workers are engaged.
Wow.
You have about 60% that are not engaged, and you have about 18% that are disengaged, right? So here's the data, you need 4 engaged employees just to counteract one disengaged employee.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? Right?
So if you have like a company with about 6,000 people, you have a lot of losses going on.
You have, even with one disengaged or toxic employee. So companies today, they can't afford, it's bad for business, to bring people with bad character on board. So in our work, we want to make character as cool as technology, right?
It should be part of it,
right? It's actually essential, this right and wrong, right?
Would you be able to expose more in the PISA framework? Is it called the PISA framework?
Yes.
Could you tell us about that? Yeah.
So the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, based in Paris, they have something called PISA, the Program for International Student Assessment. So this is how countries globally are evaluated on their quality of their education system.
Right.
So since 1980, currently they've been doing this. They survey 15-year-olds, right, up until now on discipline knowledge, essentially science, math, and language arts, right? And 80 countries are participating in this. I would really highly advise that Uganda participates in this, right? I don't know if you are right now. I don't think so. But here's the thing, right? Starting next year in 2018, PISA is actually starting a process of change in their evaluation. They're expanding for the very, very first time in decades, way beyond discipline knowledge only. They're actually, a third of the evaluation is going to be on attitudes and values.
Wow.
A third is going to be on skills, social emotional skills, cognitive skills, and even in the knowledge area, that's expanding beyond discipline knowledge to include interdisciplinary knowledge and practical knowledge, right? Kind of what you're doing here in the Innovation Center, actually.
I think practicality goes a long way.
Interdisciplinary, right? The discipline-only approach
it's not working.
It's important to be competent, by the way, in discipline knowledge, but you can't just stay there anymore. You've got to do cross-pollination between the disciplines.
Be versatile.
Right? But attitudes and values, they figured out how to survey that. And also in Global Peace Foundation, we're in the final stages of validating a survey that will measure character, creativity, and relationships in schools.
Wow.
We're already doing the testing on this in Kenya. And in the early part of the new year, that will be, it's already a reliable survey. And we will establish predictive validity and constructability on that within a month or two.
Okay. So another thing, when we look at Africa as a continent, we have about 1.8 billion youth.
Yes.
Well, Uganda, we're proud to say we're the second youngest nation in the world as of now, well,
Yes.
up to date. But as much as it is such an exciting time, I find it to be a very, very critical time.
Correct.
Because our education system still continues to rule, the traditional education
Yes.
system. And how I know is because we need a really huge mindset change, because
Yes.
as Kafara Foundation, we go out and provide the free digital skills.
Yes.
That's on part of Google and Centum Learning. But we're faced where we go and we offer and they say, that's not for us.
Yes.
It's not necessary.
Yes.
What do you see that could be the potential outcome if we don't jump on this digital age?
Going to be seriously backwards, right? Let's look at it from another point of view, right? So you talked about a 1.8 billion young population,
Yes.
and Uganda is the second largest in the world. Actually, that's not a problem. That is your number one asset.
Yes.
Actually,
Yes.
it is a huge asset. In any country, the asset is not the natural resources.
Yes,
it's
the productive
and
people.
particularly young people whose minds are curious,
Yes.
imaginative. This is like a characteristic of any person, right? Natural characteristic. So, I think it's incumbent upon us, like when you have your number one asset and you don't invest in it, there's something seriously wrong, right? So we need as many stakeholders, parents, everyone we can muster up, right, and create partnerships to actually develop this asset, which will actually, which is our young people, which will drive unbelievable innovation. You see this innovation center here? This should be everywhere. Right? And we're doing this in the Peace Foundation in public schools through leap hubs, like entrepreneurship and science, incubator. So our partnership that we formalized here today with the Caffrey Foundation is significant in that regard, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go for a short break and we'll be right back. Thank you for watching.
Okay.
Hey there, I am here to tell you about Ujamaa, a community by Kafero Foundation to create positive impact, opportunities and economic prosperity for the youth across Africa. I am a part of the community and here is why you should join us. Number one, you have access to capital by being a part of a whole ecosystem of angel investors and small business owners. You also have access to free entrance into our live shows at our studios on kafero.tv, where you'll get to meet all the CEOs and business people that will be able to host. They'll mentor you, they'll give you the knowledge that you need to start your own business. And finally, you have access to business skills. Get the right knowledge you require to sustain your business through our tailored curriculums on our online platform. I'm going to leave you with 5 words to think about: education, capital, employment, impact, Ujamaa.
Welcome back to Unpacked on Kafero.tv. Once again, I'm your host, Angela Mirembe, and once again we have Dr. Tony Devine from the Global Peace Foundation, and we've been talking about education, the system, where it's going, where we need to change. So once again, welcome back. For the break, we wanted to tackle some of the other things that the foundation does. And one of those that you mentioned was the leap hubs in Kenya.
Yes.
Could you shed more light? Because I think I'm very interested. When I hear the word leap, it's like a quantum leap into something. And then hubs, which you already mentioned, should really be placed in just about every center.
Yes.
So would you mind telling us more about the leap hubs that in Kenya?
Yes, you conceptualized it so well there. Yeah, exactly. That was the concept behind it. So leap hubs are entrepreneurship and science incubators in public high schools in Kenya. We started this 3 years ago. And when we we visited university incubators, right? And when we went to the universities, we noticed something interesting. We saw, these were investors invested into building these incubators,
Right.
but they were empty. There was like nobody there, right?
Wow.
Almost no one there, and we just heard a story about an isolated story here and there, right?
Yes.
So we came up with this idea that, that it's maybe too late.
It's too late for the university.
When you get to the university,
Yes.
like your dreams are
programmed for
getting
that
kind
job.
of faded away, right?
Yes.
And I remember when I was young, my greatest dreams and ideas were when I was a teenager, right? So we felt, hey, these young people who are in high schools, they're dreaming about the future, right?
Yes.
They're like they have possibilities in their mind.
Yes.
So this is like the perfect combination to have an incubator in a high school. It was unheard of, right?
Yes.
So we went to the very first school. It was like My Forces Academy in Nairobi. And there was a great principal there. His name is Mr. Stephen Jirogi.
And he was very welcoming.
Oh my goodness! So we just had we was just having a conversation. We thought it would take a year to get done. 40 minutes later, he called in the German teacher and the French teacher, and he said, "You guys are going to share a classroom. The other classroom is going to become a leap hub." And instantly, that got converted into an innovative, creative space like this.
Wow.
And then it actually, spread to 24 schools. And now the Ministry of Education in Kenya have actually identified 102 schools across the country, 2 in each county, 47 counties, they want to establish STEM schools, a boy and a girl school.
Yes.
And they want to have this portfolio of leap hubs in all of these schools, plus character and creativity, plus smart workforce development, plus a big emphasis on STEM and science.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think we all face the same challenge because
Yeah.
we've also done the digital skills training in the high schools
Yes.
and in the universities. And I think, like you said, I think by the time someone gets to university, their mind is focused in one direction and they assume that everything else is a distraction.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm actually hoping that in the future it will go as low as primary school.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
Yes, we
it
talked
should
about
go.
this
Yes.
before the program.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yes.
Because that's where the creativity
Right.
really stems, even high school later, either they're being influenced
Yes.
by the adults that stop
Yes.
dreaming, you need to be a doctor.
Yes.
So hopefully we can even take those
Yeah.
lower down.
Well, let me expand on that for a second of why this is actually critically important, right? It's not important, it's critically important.
Yes.
Because, more and more traditional jobs are getting
Phasing out,
automated,
yes,
right?
yes.
And that automation is going to have a bigger impact on a developing nation or
Nation.
continent,
Yes.
right? So there are like millions of Ugandan problems to solve and African problems to solve. So we need entrepreneurs on a scale today, as we go into 2018, that the world has never seen before.
Yes,
We
yes.
need entrepreneurs, we need job creators,
Absolutely.
because the traditional jobs are dying, right?
Yes.
They're, of course, in the high computer science,
Yes.
coding,
Yeah.
software technology
Most of
areas,
it
but
is
even
ICT.
there,
Even then,
they
they're still
only
being
tap top
automated,
talent,
yes.
right? But the opportunity for entrepreneurs solving African problems is like unbelievable, unlimited. We need to unlock that talent.
I do hope that Global Peace Foundation really puts its eye on Uganda because we are really one of the most, okay, it's not one of the, we are the most entrepreneurial
Yes.
countries in the world. However, how many of those businesses celebrate their first birthday
Yes.
is a very, how can I term it? It's very deflating.
Yes.
So I hope we do have the entrepreneurs, no doubt about that.
Yes.
It's very rare to find someone focused on one job. They
Yes.
have some, whether it's making bricks, briquettes, so they do something. So I
Yes.
hope that even as we plan to
Yes.
work together, we can really change that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're very committed to Uganda.
Yes.
We have an affiliate here, a great little team here for the past 5 years, right? Doing very hard stakeholder development, with the Ministry of Education, with schools. So we've gained a lot of trust. And now currently we have like 8 schools, public schools again. Here's more public-private partnership in schools with our character and creativity initiative. But in the beginning of the new year, in the past year, we've discovered amazing students coming up with entrepreneurial ideas.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
we're going to actually formalize leap hubs, right, in these schools
Yes.
starting in the new year. And this partnership here today is significant because that can be a pipeline of the
Absolutely.
top ideas that can come here and revert back in mentoring and whatnot, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm really
excited
about that too. Yeah, yeah.
I'm excited. Let's talk about the moral and innovative leadership.
Yes.
Leadership, rarely will you find the word moral and leadership,
Exactly.
especially where we have corruption
Yes.
rampant through our
Yes.
continent and just about any other country.
Yes.
When you teach moral, innovative leadership, that is very different to the traditional leadership.
Absolutely
because
is.
for someone, when you mention leadership, is basically everyone must bow down to you.
Yes.
But
Yes.
what kind of leadership, when you state moral and innovative leadership, what is that exactly? How is it different from what we term as the traditional leadership skills?
Yes.
Yes.
So our founder, the founder of Global Peace Foundation, Hyunjin Preston Moon, came up with this idea, and actually it was announced for the very first time here in Africa, in Kenya, at our Global Peace Convention in 2010, right? And it is very, very different from the normal leadership, which is often called transactional leadership.
Yes, yes.
Transactional leadership doesn't care about people that much. It just cares about
exactly.
using people
Uh-huh.
to get profit or
want
whatever
and
it is,
yes.
right? But moral and innovative leadership cares a lot about people, right? And results, right? Both. So
Yes.
it brings the people development
They go
and
together
the results acquisition together. But it also has this important ingredient of having a sense to do things for the betterment of the larger purpose, right?
So there's
Living for the
purpose to
sake of
it.
mankind,
Yes,
right?
yes.
We often say in technology, we want to save the world. We want to, this will change the world,
Yes.
right? But change the world is value neutral. We want to change the world with moral leadership combined with innovation in a positive
way.
direction, right? Especially with the rate that technology is
It's
developing today. If this is in the
transcending.
wrong hands, we're in trouble, right?
Absolutely,
So we
yes,
need
yes.
to be guided. So this is actually a very core ingredient in our programs, for many, many, many years. And it's actually, even in our LEAP hubs, students might come up with ideas and they hit walls. It is the leadership, the moral and innovative leadership, the resiliency that actually jogs them through that barrier and keeps the innovation going, right?
I like that. I like that a lot. Because, like you've mentioned, you just don't want your business to grow and have the people miserable and depressed. It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
so I think that's
let me add something else here too. Like in the new businesses that the students in Kenya are doing, and we'll be doing it here, of course. One of the first things we have them do is identify a set of core values for your business, right?
absolutely.
We also have them, assuming this will be successful. What will be your CSR,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What percentage will go back to
Back
the
to
community? So they
yes.
define that,
Yes.
right? And then they come up with what kind of a culture are we going to have? How do we treat teammates?
Yeah,
How do
exactly.
we treat customers, suppliers, right? Like that. What are the values and the culture that will allow that to keep going? So any company, any entity that's successful is rooted in core values. You take Apple, it's actually their values is
Yes.
what's infused into the
Yes.
iPhone. It's not just silicon, it's values.
I like what you said
Yeah.
there, because I was giving a talk to young people last weekend, and I said, you need to create a business where you give back to the community.
100%.
And their faces were like,
Yes, they want
what
the money,
are you
right?
talking about? Yeah, but
Yes.
that's the way to go. That's the way to do business today.
Absolutely.
And then when you talk about a smart workforce readiness,
Yes.
we've heard smartphones. Is it in
Yeah.
any way related to it? Smart workforce. We've heard of smart cities,
Yes.
smart countries.
Yes.
So what is a smart workforce, and what is to be smart workforce ready?
Okay, so they're smart and good. So the character and creativity and the moral and innovative leadership takes care of the good piece, right? The smart workforce readiness is familiarity with digital skills, with technology, how technology actually is essential to solve some of the real pain points in our economy. They can be solved with technology. So the students are not getting exposed to digital learning and technology in our current education system. So I think new partnerships need to be imagined, and that's what we're doing a lot of. And to bring that and expose that into the students, and it's actually critical. It's a critical issue that this gets taken care of, right, as quickly as possible.
Speaking of getting digital information out there, what's your take? Obviously, you've been in the education sector for quite some time. What's your take on the digital divide in terms of gender?
Yes,
because I think that is
yes.
also something that needs to be tackled as soon as possible.
Oh, 100%,
Yes.
100%. So, for example, it has to be equitable, no doubt about it, right? We're in the 21st century. Women do not have to carry bricks, and they use their minds and their creativity, right? It's a whole other ball game of talent. Women has the same talent as men do, right? And that's why, for example, when we worked with Intel as a partner in Kenya, they had a program called She Will Learn. They were working in girls' high schools, and then we talked to them and we said, how about the digital skills that you're exposing them to, why don't we have an application of that to get these girls also to be entrepreneurs?
Absolutely.
So we partnered on that, right? And that She Will Learn model came into our LEAP hubs, and that competency led these girls to be doing amazing things. Like one group of girls came up with a medical app that allowed patients, right, to make appointments with their doctors. This was a major pain point over there. Another group of girls came up with a voting app, to allow digital voting, right? They talked to the election commission, and actually in the most recent elections in Kenya, a lot of it was digitized, digital voting. They introduced for the first time. So our young students are coming up with these ideas that we're seeing getting into the market.
That actually reminds me. I think MasterCard also did a survey, and once again, when they looked at the women throughout Africa, still the women in Uganda still came to the top in terms of entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
So that's what I have faith and hope in that. As far as entrepreneurship is concerned, we're up there, but it's the other things that are necessary.
That's right.
The digital skills, the mentoring, the
Correct.
opportunities, the labs.
Correct.
So I'm hoping that that is something through our partnership.
And exactly, and also too, as these innovation centers, and they need to get increased big time. That the focus is on solving Ugandan problems. Right, just all around you, whether it's in agriculture, which is half the economy or maybe more, it needs innovation, right? It's like, look around you, solve a local problem using skills, creativity, character, technology, and so on, right? It's like those businesses will bloom. You have a ready-made market here for this. You don't need to go to the U.S. or it's like. It's such a great opportunity. There's great challenges, but I actually see the opportunities.
They're great.
Unlimited, right? Unlimited opportunities. I hope the young people, as we work together, we can stimulate them to also see, this is the best place to be. They don't need to emigrate to U.S. They should stay here, right? Just like the founder here, right?
We do.
Kefero, Newton, the others, the team here, you saw that yourselves. So you invested into this innovation center. That's actually very admirable. We need to see a lot of that going on.
Thank you. And I think what you've touched is that the youth should realize they don't need to travel out there.
No.
But right now we have droves of them that are actually going to the United Emirates, Arab Emirates. So even just letting them know, because they'll say the opportunities, but one word that you said, innovation.
Right.
Does innovation have to have a tech aspect to it? Because
it does not.
Yeah, I think that is also something that people need to understand.
Correct.
Because when they say, oh, it's an incubation hub or innovation hub, immediately someone's like, I don't have any ICT skills, I don't have digital skills, so it's not for me.
No.
So how would you simply define the word innovation?
Well, innovation is like creatively solving a real world problem. And, you know, that's like the driver, right? And then your toolbox can be a variety of things. It can be low cost, like look at this innovation center here.
Right.
When I look at the walls, the floor, the seats, it's low cost stuff,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You know, so it does not have to be all technology. Most important thing, technology is just a tool.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just it's just one of the tools in your toolbox.
Absolutely.
There's other creative ways that problems can be solved,
Yes.
right, with technology and with other creative ways, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this all sounds good. Maybe we can be open to some questions
Absolutely.
from the audience?
Absolutely. Yes, we have somebody back there.
I'm called Rebecca. I'm having one question for you. Ever since you started this project in Uganda, what have been the challenges that you have been going through along the way as you are running this thing? And another thing, I believe you have been dealing with young people. What are some things that you really see that people take for granted
Yes.
as the young people?
So challenges, I think the challenges are many. You know, one challenge, of course, is getting, you know, I think we've got amazing ideas. We need investors to see the potentiality and get on board, right? Another challenge is, you know, the education system is kind of stuck, right?
Yes.
But we do have amazing principals and teachers in the schools we're working with on the positive side that also see these possibilities, so they're willing to do more even within the current system, right? So the challenges are many, and we shouldn't be afraid of challenges at all,
Yes.
right? It's like there's silver linings behind every challenge. You know, that's where leadership comes in. That's
Yeah.
opportunity. A challenge means opportunity,
Opportunity, yes.
right? So that's the way we look at it, you know. And then about your young people, like I'm super impressed with the young people here in Uganda, right, that I meet in your schools, you know, and I see them all around. I mean, all I see is like tremendous hope, right?
Yes.
There's also some despair and, you know, frustration and so on,
Yeah,
but I
there's
see
so
actually
much hope.
more, like, these young kids are brimming with possibilities, right? So like,
given the
it's
right
infectious,
skills.
right? It's like, if we can just help them out a little
Yes,
bit, give them
mentor them, give them
mentor
the-
them,
yes.
right? It doesn't take long. These guys are ready to go. One prod and they're off. We're seeing this all over the place. So, as I said in the beginning, this is your number one asset. Invest into them.
Yeah.
And we're happy to work with you to invest into them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
By the names, I'm called Kagoda Rogers. My question is, what's your take on the rise of social enterprises across Africa? And the other question will be, do you think do you think Africa needs aid, or aid is no longer applying to our continent, or it's no longer making a change?
Yes. Okay. Very, very good. Big block questions here, right? So, okay. First of all, on social enterprise, right? Social enterprise is very important, right? We need lots of social enterprises, right? That, you know, they're not in the business of making a profit per se, but they're
Changing
founders
the
who actually want to bring things, change about in a positive way. We need tons of that here on the continent, right? Here in Uganda. We also need for-profit businesses as well, right? We also need, you know, people doing amazing science projects as well. So we need all of that, in fact, right? In terms of aid, of course, I think aid should be more of an investment. I think a lot of people are questioning its effectiveness and so on. I think the countries that are providing aid need to, I think, reimagine their outcomes and goals, right, of where this can have the biggest impact. I think a lot of aid gets lost in the system.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't hit the front,
The reason it was sent.
the reason it was sent, right? It doesn't hit the field, so to speak, right? So I think that a lot of that needs to be rethought. And the goal is, of course, you know, how can it be as effective as possible? Like I'm going to Ireland after this. I'm going to be have a meeting with Irish Aid in Ireland that, you know, Uganda is one of the recipient countries of that. We'll be talking about that topic, right? Yeah, and bringing feedback from here, right? So we can think about how to make it more effective, right?
Exactly,
Yeah. So does this young man here have a question? He's the youngest in the room. We're talking about young people here.
You don't have
seems
a
that he
question,
has a smartphone, and so maybe you have a nice question for us.
So, the people of Cafe Foundation would thank you for your support in bringing up the organization so far, and thank you for joining with us.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's our great pleasure.
Yeah,
And,
but I think that's the generation for me that it's because you know he's on holiday and rather than maybe watch some cartoons, he's actually here to learn some coding.
Oh, that's so great.
And graphics. So we, as we transition and have the incubation hub, we really want to also go into the younger space.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I think his mind, he's still
he's
like,
unlimited.
I can do anything. I can become Superman.
How old are you? Oh, there you go. Yes. See, your theory is correct.
Yes, I'm very serious. Extremely serious, yes.
I thought like we were I think we're behind just in the high school.
Yeah,
so we need to go 1 or 2 years younger. Yeah, exactly.
You might look into the younger ones
absolutely,
as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, so here at Cafe. It doesn't hurt to have a look at what's being taught there as well.
Absolutely.
So you can equip yourself for the relevant age at the moment. One question I have about education, we read history. One of my favorite stories was the French Revolution. Maybe because of the irony of Bonaparte and his character and everything. But if I look at history, no history books are being written at the moment. What happens to the history that's been taking place like in the last 5 years?
Yes.
That for me is a question I speak with every day. Because I've read about Shaka Zulu, the African history, Bonaparte, we've read about the monarchies. Does that mean that the education system is not adding on to what is already existing?
Yeah, that's actually a real concern. I mean, we're here to create a new history for the world, right? And, you know, who creates, it's people that create history. It's not everyone. You've got outliers, people that are going to go above and beyond, that are going to invest and that, you know, become, you know, who can embody the principles we're talking about, the moral and innovative leadership, entrepreneurial, who are willing to sacrifice, right? I saw on your innovation wall that it was Einstein and Steve Jobs and Nelson Mandela. I mean, you just look at their lives, right? They sacrificed for the sake of others so much, right? You know, yes, they got some benefit, but that wasn't their driving motivation. Their driving motivation was to bring positive change in the world, to impact and make people's lives better. We need young people today on December 7th, 2017, stepping up. Hey, I'm going to do that, right? And you know, I'm very impressed with the founders here that they're doing that. That's what they did, right? You know, Cafero and Newton and yourself and others, right? You're making that sacrifice to start off this innovation center. That's so admirable. We need models like you guys to do this. Yeah, many. Yes,
I think one of the reasons that the young people still have a problem, you know, when you look at Steve Jobs, if you can relate and say, as a young man, he did this, so I can
Yes.
do it. Mandela, you know, we see the pictures of him
Yes.
in his old age, but he was locked up as a pretty
Yes.
young man. So I think also one of the other problems is if a young person cannot get a history book to read about
Yes.
this person
Yes.
and they're reading about someone in 1800s,
Yes.
I think even to have a role model today could be a
Right.
problem.
Yes.
It's a problem because if someone's reading, I mean,
Yeah.
President Obama was the first African-American president.
Yes.
But if he's not written anywhere in history,
Yes.
then no one will be able to say, I can make it or I can do it. So
Exactly. You know, on that point, you talk about reading, right? So we talk about reading. Oh, yeah, that's nice to read, right? But you take an entrepreneur like Elon Musk,
Yes.
right, who founded
Tesla,
Tesla and
yeah.
also SpaceX.
yes.
Now, he didn't know a lot about rockets, and when he says, well, how did you have no background? He founded PayPal, right?
Yes,
Financial
yes, yeah, the financial
thing.
transactions,
So he had
yeah.
no background in engineering and
Wow.
rocketry or anything like this. So he said, I read a couple of books on it. Yeah, I went to Russia. I got a couple of books from there. I got a couple of books here and there. So I read about rockets in books, and that's how he started SpaceX.
Now, if we could have that story told in the history classes,
Yes,
I think
that's
there might be a drastic
yeah.
change. If history class was like history A, you have him, and then you have Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
and I think the world
That's all
might be
doable.
able,
I mean, read a few books, right,
Yes.
and then go and look at a few YouTube videos.
Absolutely.
You know, you can be moving fast, right?
I think
Yeah.
we're going to take that on. We're going to start a YouTube
Oh,
class.
there you go. Have a little library
yes,
here, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
but I think that's the way to go.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad that we share the same principles. It would have been a very hard interview if you had come to support the old traditional system. I think I might have been out of words, but it's very good
No,
to
thank
be
you.
in partnership with someone
Absolutely.
who's on the same page as
Yeah,
we are.
absolutely. We're delighted. It was a great pleasure to be here.
It
It was a wonderful interview, and I'm so happy to have been here with you guys today.
Thank you
Thank
for,
you.
for accepting our invitation.
Yes.
And we're so
My honor.
delighted to
My
have
honor.
had you
Yeah.
here. Thank you so much.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Tony.
Thank you.
So that was Unpacked here on Cafero.tv. Once again, my name is Angela Mirembe. I was your host, and see you back